Hello, I have with me Dr. Mansfield Edwards, President of the Ontario Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We have just completed a successful inaugural Earth Day Summit. Please tell us when you thought of this initiative and why.
Thank you, Crystal. Thanks for having me. The Earth Day Summit, the idea was born in my mind just under 2 years ago when I read this research, which was done by Dr. David Kinnaman, who is associated with Barna Institute in the United States. And he compiled his findings in a book called You Lust Me, a book which I keep very close to me. It's captioned, You Lust Me, Why Young Christians Are Leaving Church and Rethinking Faith. In the findings, he speaks about how many young people are being challenged by different perspectives from scientists who, especially in high school and tertiary institutions, in high school and tertiary institutions, question the validity of faith and question our origin and the very reality of God and the authenticity of Christianity. I share with you from, I think it's page 22 of this book, and I highlighted it. It says, the ages 18 to 29 are the black hole of church attendance. This age segment is missing in action from most congregations. In the second part of that paragraph, he says, overall, there's a 43% drop off between the teen and early adult years in terms of church engagement. These numbers represent about 8 million 20-somethings who were active churchgoers as teenagers, but who will no longer be particularly engaged in a church by their 30th birthday. It really hit my mind that the devil is making significant inroads in the church, and particularly in the millennial age, and he is eroding the faith on a consistent basis using many strategies to include, as Kinnaman referenced, these scientific opinions that are based on evolution and agnosticism. So that challenged my mind. So as a result of that, I decided we're going to have to come up with an initiative that counters the devil's efforts here, because this is a great controversy. And we cannot just lay down and just watch. We are not spectators in this. We must be active participants. And so we have the idea with regards to the Earth Day Summit was born. I said, we have got to get people back to think of creation and where the earth came from. And God has been faithful in preserving in the civic calendar Earth Day. So let's celebrate Earth Day, but take people back with the added dimension of the question, where did the earth come from? Let's consider our origins. God is creator, and we need to affirm this in the minds of our young people. In order to do that convincingly, though, if they are being challenged by the perspective and opinions of some scientists, we need to bring scientists of faith who are PhD individuals at the top of their game in their scientific professions, but at the same time, they are firm in their faith. So our young people would be able to see that you can be a Christian scientist at the same time.
Okay, so as we know, the day was an amazing success. How did you move from vision to implementation? How was the planning process for you?
All right. Thank you for that. The planning process was an exciting one because first of all, I had to convince folk that this was possible and share the dream in a real way so that others could catch that. And so I sent out to the churches just asking if there are any scientists, those who are scientists in our churches, please contact me so that I can begin to pull together a core group, and which would essentially and eventually constitute the planning committee. So we started with a small group and kept adding individuals. And after a while, we discovered that most of us in the room were over 50. Okay. And so we decided to pull in some young people because the millennials are just one of the reasons why we were driving this, because they are identified in the research by Kinnaman as an at-risk population. Okay? And if we lose our young people with an aging membership, losing our young people is a crucial thing, because if we're losing our older ones by death and we're losing our younger ones by default, then the question is, what are the implications for the evangelism and for the growth of our church and for the leadership of our church for the future? So we had to look at this very carefully. As a matter of fact, there's a statement, a quote on the back of the book, You Lost Me, which is a statement by one of the young people. I knew from church that I couldn't believe in both science and God, so that was it. I didn't believe in God anymore. That was a choice the person made. Okay. So we have to save our young people. And I called the committee together. I explained to them we looked at this from the perspective of the lost coin. Mm-hmm. You know, the lost boy left home, right? The lost sheep wandered away. Yeah. But the lost coin was lost right in the house. Yeah. And I clarified to them that we're losing our kids right in the house. And we have got to help them to rebuild and be reaffirmed in their faith. And so we, because most of us were over 50, we said we need to get some of them on the committee too. So we pulled in some young people who are millennials and are in tertiary institutions, listening to some of these secular folk, challenging their faith. And we brought them in, and they made great contributions. So we had great balance. And for 2 years, we stuck together, dreaming and expanding the dream, enriching it, upgrading it, right. And eventually we had what we had.
Okay. Now, you said that you brought in scientific experts from our church. Yeah. Can you just tell us what some of the key takeaways from the presentations were for you?
For me, it was exciting to see that we invested in a conference in assisting with the transportation of some of our young students or young members who are students in secular tertiary institutions along with their friends. Right. And for me, that was a good investment for them to come in and hear these PhD scientists who are solid Christians share from the perspective of their discipline, whether it's astrophysicists or microbiologists or immunologists, toxicologists. Come and listen to these folk celebrate the fact that this earth could not exist by chance. It is intelligent design. Hear from a neurosurgeon showing them the brain and telling them, look at this, let me explain why this could not be credited to evolution or random chance mutation. I salivated when I walked through and saw the eyes of our young people just looking and listening as they listened to these folk in an excited way, and having their faith being reaffirmed. That for me was a joy. Of course, we had the other component which affirmed our commitment to the earth. Since God is the creator, we have a stewardship responsibility to the earth that he has created. And so we affirm things like recycling, planting flowers to help to keep the strength and the balance of the honeybee population, organic planting and stuff like these. Yeah. That was also great for me, including the kids from our elementary schools and our academy who participated in the poster competition. They were just so happy to be affirmed as a part of this because they made very, very important contributions too.
Okay. Now, were there any surprises either in the planning process or throughout the day for you?
There were surprises. Yes, there were. Many of them. In the planning process, and as we went through that process, yes, one of the surprises was that as we were looking at how we would be having these visuals and these illustrations that would just attract people and capture their attention, we needed to have this done in a way that would transmit the messages in a great way, in an attractive way, and high quality, because we didn't want to have anything that was second class.
Right.
And our communications director, whose name is Christelle, that's you, you came to us with a recommendation, a suggestion that there is somebody you know who would be available for a few weeks to volunteer with us. His name is FIFA, and he's behind the camera right now.
Yes.
Okay? And we said we'd be glad to. And when we saw the talent he brought that complemented what you brought to the table, we said, we got to keep this young man and keep this team together. And I tell you, what emerged out of that was visuals that blew away even the presenters, who are folk who function at the highest level in academia and should have seen good quality, would have seen good quality all around the place. But now, when they walked into our venue that Saturday night just to view it and breathe the atmosphere before the Sunday meeting, they were blown away. So that's one way the Lord worked miracles.
Yes.
In other ways, the Lord worked miracles is that there is one of the companies that the media houses we call television, of course, to talk about advertisements. And the lower end of their ads was $350 for 30 seconds. And at the higher end, where these ads would fall after high volume programs, high volume viewership for particular programs, it would be at $750. So between $350 and $750 were the cost. And then I said, what we can afford is $50. How can we negotiate? Well, bottom line is we signed the contract for $50 per ad. Yes?
Oh,
miracle. Pleasant surprise. The biggest one in terms of ad was one of the companies we worked with, the Patterson Company, that does ads for the TTC, because we wanted the ads on the sides of buses, on the back of buses, inside the buses, inside the GO train, and so on, and subway stations and in the subway. And yes, we did get those ads in place, and we got them at 50% discount. And in addition to that, they gave us at no additional cost some billboard ads on digital billboard signs in 5 cities. I tell you, God was really showing his hand. And on the day, the crescendo to the surprises was the thousands who streamed into that building, giving us a good problem, because there were times when it was almost choked as a result of the crowd. But it was never a negative situation. It was really, really a blessing. That was a pleasant surprise.
Okay, and how would you sum up the day in one sentence?
If you'll allow me to say it in one word, amazing, amazing, amazing. God is so good.
Yes, he is. Now, what's next?
Oh, what's next? What's next? I think another area in which we have not been really carrying out the mandate that we have is the area of health. Health is the right arm of this message, and we have not been using that the way we should have as effectively as we should. We have been doing some good things, but we need to do this thing in a significant way to impact the community and the society. People ought to know us. And if we really be honest, there are folk who are running with this health message a little more than we are. And we were given the baton. Yeah. So we're looking at a health summit. We have started looking at a health summit, and that's going to be next. We're going to work on that. We're going to keep the Earth Day Summit going, but we're going to do the health summit also, because there are major issues with health. There are many lifestyle diseases that's really wiping out, and not just people in the public, but also some of our congregants. And we need to approach this with lifestyle disease and risk reduction. We need to be able to help people to manage as stewards of this body, which is the temple of the Holy Spirit. We ought to take care of that. And we can do this in partnership with other agencies, the society that deals with autism and stuff like that. We need to work with these agencies, and they need to know that we're taking the lead, and they're coming in partnership with us because God has given us a mandate. So we're looking forward to a health summit. Down the road, way down the road, I do hope that we will have, emerging out of our exhibits for Earth Day, eventually a museum, a creation museum in this province where people can really go to, as it would be open Sunday to Friday. Day after day, people streaming through, and it would be a continual witness and outreach as people learn of God as creator. The bottom line is the Sabbath means nothing to people unless they understand that, one, there's a God, and number two, he is the creator. Yes? So that is vital, and that is something I'll be working on. The Geoscience Division at Loma Linda, they know my vision for this, and they are ready to assist. In fact, they have sent me the first fossil, thousands of years in age, and said, this is our first contribution to your dream to have a museum here. And that fossil is on the wall over there. It's hung there, and thousands of years old. And that's their first contribution. And they're telling me that they will assist us with the museum, with having fossils and important relics in there.
So thank you, Dr. Edwards, for sharing with us about the Earth Day Summit and other initiatives that are coming up that the conference is invested in. And thank you for watching. This is a true shift in how Ontario Conference is helping to spread the gospel to the community, a disciple shift.